Today we go over an update for Star Wars Episode 9. This is Mike Zero here. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, these past couple of days we've been learning a whole lot more about the final film in this trilogy by J.J. Abrams, and what's really exciting is that you guys may or may not have heard about this, is that at the very end of July, we are indeed getting a big announcement involving Episode 9. This could honestly range anywhere from a production teaser trailer, much like with, what we got for The Last Jedi, or it could be a major cast announcement or something to do with Luke Skywalker, maybe even the official announcement of Billy D. Williams' return. But looking past all of this, we have also been going over all of the different concept art and storyboard descriptions, etc. Very much like how we did with Star Wars Episode 8, with the concept art of the Binary Sunset over Arc 2, which ended up being the death of Luke Skywalker. Now, what's really interesting is one of the concept art / storyboard descriptions for Star Wars Episode 9 involves a giant pyramid structure resembling the Great Temple on Yavin 4. Said structure has what appears to be a couple of E-wings flying out in the distance. So, the reason as to why I do believe that structure is indeed Yavin 4, nothing's confirmed as of yet. A lot of the storyboard descriptions are usually hard sketches, but looking at the Cardington sheds, I think that this matches up perfectly. In case you guys have no idea, a couple of days ago, we actually learned of the first official filming location for Episode 9, which is over in Cardington, the UK, and over in one of the sheds, which they will be using for Episode 9. These are huge hangars, they use them for a lot of movies out there. And what's very intriguing is that they used that very exact location for not only Rogue One, but for A New Hope as well, both for the Yavin 4 base of the Great Temple. So what really sparks my interest here is that if this is indeed Yavin 4 coming into the mix in Episode 9, what's really exciting is that it seems as so that Disney and Lucasfilm are once again trying to implement as much Legends material into the sequel trilogy as possible, with the mention of E-wings. I don't know if you guys are familiar with E-wings, go ahead and look it up. Now, what's interesting about this is that they kind of resemble an X-wing, except, the wings are far different. It's got two and they're bent down, toward the ground, sort of. If you guys go ahead and check it out. What's interesting about that ship design is that it's taken directly from Legends material, and it's now being put apparently into the Disney canon involving Star Wars Episode 9. And we actually heard about this a couple of weeks ago, that J.J. Abrams is moving away from the traditional things in the Star Wars universe. We've heard that they're trying to shift away from those X-Wings and TIE Fighters, etc., and trying to essentially redesign something similar, yet completely different. And if you look at the E-Wings, there's something about them that really reminds me of the X-Wings, except they got like a different wing pattern. It's a very interesting design, and I really do love it. But looking at the Yavin 4 base, alright, why would we go back to the Great Temple? Now, this raises a ton of questions once again. We do know, however, that Poe Dameron, in case you guys didn't know, Poe Dameron is actually very familiar with Yavin 4. So we can see how all the little pieces here are fitting into one big puzzle. Now, why specifically would Poe go back to Yavin 4 is another question open on the table for discussion. Now, I would imagine that in Episode 9, in order to attempt to rebuild the Resistance, eventually becoming the New Rebellion, or maybe they already are the New Rebellion at this point in time in Episode 9. Maybe they did this or are doing this by seeking out all of the abandoned bases, such as the one on Crate that once belonged to the Rebellion, and they're using this as a way to regroup and strengthen themselves against the First Order. Now, as you saw at the very end of The Last Jedi, the gigantic ship which belonged to Supreme Leader Snoke, it's called the Supremacy, that was pretty much split in two, alright? Not quite down the middle, but it was split in two nonetheless. And you saw all the debris falling down on the planet Crate from that ship. So, with that being done and said, that was indeed the headquarters of the First Order. What's interesting to me for Episode 9 is exactly how did the First Order recuperate from such a defeat at the very end of The Last Jedi, after Vice Admiral Holdo punched into hyperspace and went right through, causing, havoc upon the supremacy. And this does raise a lot of questions as to exactly how will Kylo Ren be running the First Order. We've heard before in the past that he's going to be introducing apparently these new types of stormtroopers that range from colors of being black, gray, and white, different shades, some of which are helmetless, which should be pretty cool to see on screen, and I'm not quite sure how you guys feel about that. But Episode 9, what's great about this is that JJ and Chris Terrio are trying to use this movie as a utility, in a sense, to combine all the 9 movies into one and insert the prequel trilogy content and really connect it to all of the movies involving the Skywalker saga films. So I think that the Yavin 4 base right then and there, that's the first original trilogy connection, and it only makes sense because if you think about it, if you look at the sequel trilogy, we haven't returned to a familiar planet from the original trilogy as of yet, and that is one thing to take note of. We haven't returned to an actual old planet in the sequel trilogy as of today. Sure, we saw a lot of similar planets like Jakku being Tatooine, or, parts of Takodana being Endor because it's in the woods, the forest, and even Starkiller Base somewhat being of Hoth. So we see that pattern, sure, but they're not the same old planets, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see exactly what JJ will be doing with this movie. But anyways, guys, drop a comment below, let me know what you think about this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.